Michelle Graves, your host on The Power of Money, and I'm honored to have you as a part of my world in this coming segment. With The Power of Money, as you know, we are interested in three things. First, that you get the necessary education so that you and your family will have the information to do well in these difficult times. The second thing I'm interested in is for you to be empowered to prosper. I want only the best for you, but you can't get that if you don't have the education and then the drive to make it happen. And the final thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is that you be energized. Because life is more than a journey. Life is about living. And so I want you to learn these things and to be empowered and encouraged and energized. And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for over 40 years as the Money Lady. And for those of you who've been faithful followers of my show over the years, you know that my predictive power around economic forecasting is pretty good. More specifically, as it relates to the current chaotic economic climate we're in today. And I have news for all of you that are watching and listening. More to come. More to come. Despite what the Fed's intentions are, which is to quash inflation, and I respect that. As an international economist and banker, I respect that. That's what we were taught. When you've got inflation, you just better get a rein on it because it's going to get a rein on you. So again, the Fed has made it abundantly clear that that is highest priority. And why is that highest priority? Why is inflation so devastating? Well, months and months and months ago, I shared with all of you that inflation completely erodes your quality of life and your standard of living. You can make a great salary, but by the time you're whiplashed with food costs, transportation costs, heating costs, and other related costs from price increases, you will find that the money you bring home is not that significant. What you're having to pay to live is literally dangling you out to the wind. And that's what many, many Americans are feeling today. Again, the Fed only has an option, and that has to deal with monetary control. And what is their favorite weapon is interest rates. We were taught, this is a part of grad school, we were taught in macroeconomic theory that the Fed can use its discretion to raise and lower interest rates, to buy bonds. It has a lot of discretion, but inflation is brutal. I shared with everyone, go back to an earlier video I did on stagflation. You can go to YouTube, The Power of Money with Michelle Graves, and I talked about stagflation like 6 months ago. And my position was and remains that at that time, I was not looking at a very robust economy. Now, according to the data we have now, they're saying that we are in a robust economy and that things are returning to pre-pandemic. Sorry, guys, I don't believe that. I think that's funny numbers. What I will say is that if people are working, they're working for far less money than they were working before. Women are not even in the marketplace. Read your data, guys. Read your data, guys and gals. Women are not in the marketplace because they can't afford to pay daycare and keep a job, even if it is remote. Daycare is expensive, and there are no subsidies, there's no support for women working with children at home. It just does not exist. It's not there. So what do we do during this period? Well, the Fed has said if we raise interest rates, if we stop the money printing machine, okay, which is the U.S. Treasury, and that's not the Fed. The Fed is a quasi-private institution, which is empowered to do these things. Our government can print money and pay bills, which is why we print money. We print money to stimulate, we print money to pay debt. But again, the Fed says if we raise rates, we will cool down the business community's desire to continue to do stuff, manufacture like crazy, this and that and the other. And, you know, just as a sidebar, I just heard that Walmart, as well as a couple of other big boys, are drowning in inventory. People have gotten the message. They're not spending on stuff. They're just trying to get through with the gas bill and these kind of things. It's a very, very sad story, but that's where we are today. So I say all of this to say, what do you need to do now? Do you hear me now? Do you hear me now? Do you hear me now? Are you listening to me now? Well, listen to this. In a world that is now consumed with chaos, thank you, Vladimir Putin, for running a war that's now going into 4 months and with no end in sight. And thank you, Vladimir Putin, for destroying the agricultural sector of Ukraine, which is responsible for feeding most of the world, particularly lesser developed countries and continents. Thank you. Okay? It's caused a real problem. And we haven't even gotten into winter yet. We're trying to get through the summer months where wheat and grain are required. Thanks to the activities, prices of wheat and grains are through the roof. And do I see a change? No, I do not. Fertilizer, through the roof. American farmers are suffering. Crops are impacted along with everything else that's going on over here. But they are suffering because they can't get the grains out of the Black Sea because the Russian Navy is blockading. So, I got a little secret here. The wheat is not completely going to waste because they are transporting it to Russia, where they're mixing it with Russian grain and selling it off. How do we know? Because the Ukrainians are very sophisticated farmers. These are not broke or poor people. They're small, but they are sophisticated. And we know, based on the GPS that's in their trucks, grain trucks, that are being transported, that's what's happening. So what is the end game here? Well, that's a story that's not going to end pretty. I say that because now Russia's talking to Iran, right, about military drones. Why not? They got all the money. They're friends. But that's going to end in a very, very twisted way. And I'm saying predictively that the United States is being yoked into this thing. Yeah, we're providing military support for the Ukrainians, financially as well as with equipment, and we're providing troop support, not in Ukraine, in Poland, but that's 40 miles. So what am I saying? We're being pulled into this, okay? As if we don't have enough troubles of our own. And I'm going to get back to the things you're going to need to do to protect yourself. It's not too late, but it's looking pretty bleak. Again, focus on Ukraine, focus on the climate, drought in the West. Yeah, Nevada, California, real drought. No play, real drought. Our food belt is being impacted by climate. Now, grant you, the Carolinas, oh my gosh, you talking about wonderful soil, rich, etc. But Carolina is not California, okay? And I'm telling you, the implications are very, very serious. I don't have an answer for that other than move, okay? Load your family up and move. Sell your house to the highest bidder. Take your money and move where you can eat and live, because some things are more important than status, cars, and palm trees. Okay, what about just being able to eat and take care of your family affordably? Okay, so again, not all parts of the United States are impacted the same way. We're a big country. We're nowhere to compare with China and India. No way, but we're not small potato. And so we have to look at the things that are going to work for us, starting with, what do I need to do? Well, let's start with your budget. And let's look at an adjusted budget. If the IRS can make an adjustment on gas mileage, you need to make an adjustment on gas purchases. Okay? Gas is a function of supply and demand for the most part. And again, we've seen some adjustment in prices this past week, but they're going back up again because, again, demand is great. And people honestly don't care if it does get to $9 or $10 a gallon. We may holler and scream, but I just bet you we're going to fill up those SUVs, okay, and those Ford trucks. I just bet you that. And we're just going to say, wow, this is horrible. But gas prices are not coming down. Nope. Not. I meant that. Gas prices are not coming down. Okay, so back to your budget. What do you need and what do you want? There's a difference between needs and wants. There is. And sadly, if you focus on wants, you're headed out the back door. Your needs have to deal with, of course, your basics: food, clothing, and shelter. You know that food is up significantly. I think the inflation index for this past month was almost 9%. Annualized, awful, okay? So you gotta eat, so what do you eat? You eat carefully. I know that sounds weird, but you eat carefully. You don't do red meat unless it's cuts that you can marinate. You try to balance your meals out with lots of vegetables, and you grow your own food. Yeah, I've been saying that for years. I grow mine. And people say, why? I say, because it's healthier. I touched it. I don't buy eggs from the grocery store. I buy eggs from local farmers with real chickens that lay real eggs. And the yolk is nice and rich and works perfect for me. I made those adjustments a long time ago because I didn't want to be dependent upon an agricultural economy that's 90% of the food is under big agriculture. I didn't like the way that looked or sounds, so I started doing my own. You can do yours as well. YouTube gives you a lot of helpful hints, guidelines, etc., and that's a good way to get into it. Going into fall and winter, you can still grow cabbage, you can grow kale, you can grow collards, you can grow carrots. You can still grow stuff, okay, as we move into the colder months coming up soon, okay, soon. But first thing is, what do I want versus what do I need? Like I said, you need to have a stable source of food and rice, and get it now. And don't hesitate to avail yourself to non-traditional resources for food, okay, for real. You can go to non-traditional resources and get rice and all these other things while they are yet plentiful, because the general public has not awakened to the cruel reality of inflation and what it's going to look like as we move on down this road. So again, with the food issue, vegetables, light on red meat, light on pork, light on everything. You can, if you can afford fish, wild caught preferably. Take advantage of sales and coupons. Don't think it to be odd. Don't turn your nose at the Dollar Tree, now $1.25. You'd be surprised at who's going to Dollar Tree now all over. And you'd be surprised at what their stock is doing now as well. Everybody's not stupid. A lot of people of means are making decisions about how they will spend their money, and you need to do the same. You really do. There's some great bargains at the $1.25 store now. It's gone from Dollar Tree to $1.25 because of inflation, because of supply chain issues. But you can still get a lot of stuff cheaper than the big box stores for groceries. Okay, you really can. And if it doesn't bother your pride, line up like everybody else does and do what you need to do. The last time I was at the $1.25 store, there were a variety of cars in the parking lot, including a Lamborghini. And I guess he wants to be able to afford his Lamborghini gas costs. So he makes decisions, or she makes decisions, and goes accordingly. With your housing, if you're a renter, I cannot tell you anything other than it's going to get worse. Why? Because landlords are not going to be nonprofit organizations. They're going to pass those costs on to you. Okay? What are your alternatives if you're renting? You might consider sharing. Okay? 2 people, not 1, 2 people, 2 families. And even sharing on food costs and gas, electric, and water and sewerage, if you have to pay those things. You may want to consider house rental, again, on a shared basis. Yeah, there's going to be, what can I say? If you're not a person that's open to change, this is not going to be a good season for you because there's a lot of change going on. And are things going back the way they were? No, they're not going back to the way they were. Why? Because that's not the way inflation works. Okay? We can go back and look at the way things were, and I will tell you on so many points, I'm so glad I'm not back there. For real. I'm glad I'm not looking at landlines and party lines and all the ways we had to get through society even 20 years ago. Okay? I fully recognize that when things were plentiful, you could get an Uber for $10. You're not going to get an Uber to the airport for $10. You shouldn't have gotten it for $10 then, but Uber was pushing brand and market. Things are back to normal, new normal. Now, you will pay $50 to go to the airport. Should you drive your car? It depends on the economics, okay? Depends on whether you can pool with other people. Look at ways to save money differently. So again, back to food. Now clothing is going to be high. Why? Because clothing, for the most part, is not naturally obtained, which is linen, cotton, wool. It's polyester. Polyester is an oil derivative. Think nylon pantyhose and how they would inflame, like catch on fire in the day. And clothing is going to be expensive. The alternative, and I highly recommend it, is that you begin looking at consignment shops that have natural fibers from older styles. Again, those are still better deals than you're going to get in your box stores. Of course, some people swear to me they do just great at the box stores. And I tell them, I'm not going to argue with you about what works for you. I'm just simply telling you a fact. Polyester and nylon are derivatives of oil. And oil is not going down anytime soon. So those costs of production are going to go up. What does that mean? That means that you're going to have to watch carefully. You're going to have to watch carefully. A lot of people are already watching carefully and are not buying things that they don't really need. Okay, they're not doing it. And they have to be willing to shop. I ran into a situation because the stores are now stocking for school, and that's composition books, etc. And the price points on composition books are all over the place, from 25 cents for that same book that's selling for $1.25. Same book, same manufacturer. Again, you got to be careful. You got to watch. Okay, you got to watch and move carefully when it comes to your children. Okay, the days of being able to get a lot of donated items are pretty much over because companies are trying to sell everything they got, period, right now. So again, I've talked about food, I talked about housing and your options with housing, and how for those who are renters, no good days in sight. For those who are homeowners, please expect the following things if you're a homeowner. First thing is going to be higher real estate taxes. Why? Because again, the cost of everything has gone up. Homeowners insurance, expected to go up. Even if you're not burning down your house, houses are being burned down all over the place. And because insurance, auto and homeowners is a group pricing, it's going to be passed on to you as well. You can shop and see what you come up with. And particularly when it comes to flood insurance, will your carrier cover flooding from too much rain? Or is that a rider? You need to talk to your agent. Don't expect them to tell you these things until it's too late. Okay, you want replacement value to make sure that your house is adequately valued and that you can take advantage of that. With car insurance, the key thing is this. The deductible is everything. If you've got a large deductible and you've got money escrowed in case you have to pay the deductible, you're good. If you don't have deductible money put away, then you would want to take the more expensive low deductible plans. Now, why is it more expensive? Because the insurance company has to pay more if something happens. You also want to be able to take the rental option as well. These come from reading your contracts. If there's something you do not understand, call the people that you purchase your contract from. Many of these companies have actual retail stores, State Farm, Allstate, etc. They do, and they will be willing to talk to you and explain to you your plan. Does it pay to shop around? I think it does. Have I done it? No, I haven't. Why? Because I don't want to take the risk of having a claim and not getting it paid. A lot of people have enrolled on internet. Good luck if there's a claim. Really, good luck with that, okay? So that's where we are in terms of housing. So we've got food, clothing, and shelter, those three things that have to deal with your budget. Make adjustments, okay? Make adjustments and attend to that immediately in all areas. You cannot negotiate on sewer costs if you have a private company. They bill monthly and you're expected to pay. And I mean, I'm gagging, but I don't have a dump in the back of my house that I can dump all my stuff. Although I do have a compost, which I use to get rid of all my perishables for great dirt in the spring. But most people do not have a landfill in the back of their yard. So if you're with the city, it's not going to be as pricey as if you're in a municipality. Just be aware, there's no flexibility there. But you can tweak some things to eke out a little bit more money. And again, go back to your budget, look at what you did spend and look at what you are spending now. And recognize that the killer is going to be, for most people, rent and gas. Or should I put in food too? Got to eat. So again, not making anybody feel good. I'm not saying that any political party is responsible for this. I shared with everyone a long time ago that I believe the black swan, which is the unexplained phenomenon that shows up and blows everything out of control, was COVID. COVID was global. China could not ship. The U.S. could not hire. They were letting go people because they didn't know. And 1 million people died, and people are still dying because now they've got a variant, which is brutal, and it's taking people out. So, can the news media do me a favor? Can you please begin to broadcast some Daffy Duck cartoons, some Roadrunner cartoons, some Elmer Fudd cartoons, so that we can laugh? Because this stuff begins to get very, very oppressive. And in fact, the data says that over half of the United States Americans aren't even watching TV anymore. I mean, the big boys, they're not getting the viewership, because people are like, oh, by the time I look at all the killings, yeah, young people gone crazy. By the time I look at inflation, oh my gosh, I'm getting poorer by the minute. By the time I run to the gas station to get gas, I want to pass out, and I just want to go home. I feel you. That's how I feel. I don't watch TV. I actually use my iPhone and catch up on trending stuff, and heck, I can't take but so much. It's depressing. It's the truth. But hey, Elmer Fudd makes me happy. Okay? Richie Rich, the original cartoon, make me happy. Archie makes me happy. These things make me happy. Yeah, it's not reality TV. I don't care. I don't care. Makes me happy. Okay? But moving on with inflation and how to survive. The biggest expense facing many young people is federal student loan debt. That's real. It's been hard, and now it's impossible because you haven't been required to pay. And let's just hope the president does a general forgiveness program so that you can go on and participate in life without being bombarded with loan bills for jobs that you didn't get. And for all of you that are so sanctified and holy, which is, and righteous, which is, they just made bad decisions, they need to grow up. Excuse me, I know you made bad decisions at some point in your life. It may be who you married. It may be how the kids turned out. It may be the job with the boss you couldn't stand. Life is that way. Do we want to penalize our young people forever and ever and ever on debt that accrues interest, not equity, interest? Or do we just say, since we're giving money to everybody else, I mean, come on, it's a $51 billion pop, but if my numbers are right, I think we're giving Ukraine somewhere along that right now. And why not take care of our young people? Why not take care of our future? Because they're going to have to take care of us when we get old. Yeah, think about that. Yeah, so be nice. I support the loan forgiveness. Why? Because if you print money, why not print some money for your own people? So young people can get a breather and they can move into their own places rather than living in the basement, okay, of their parents' home or tribing with a bunch of their friends to try to make ends meet. This is not the story we want young people to experience. Enough is enough, okay? It was a badly conceived idea with student loans and hooking up colleges and Sally Mae and all of the greed and wretchedness that is so much a part of how we do business. But student loans, if you can afford, try to begin to pay or do something and pray that we have an answer, because I know our president's looking at the same data as economists and everybody else, and he's like, whoa, they can't buy a house if they can't pay their student loans. Okay, this is real. I'm hoping that changes, but that's something you want to look at and see if you can. Emergency savings. I've said as a rule of thumb, minimum of 6 months, maximum a year. Why? Because you may lose your job. You may get furloughed. Your company may go out of business. You may be out here trying to get unemployment, which is endless in terms of paperwork and time, and trying to get back on your feet. And so, again, I want you to take a look at that too. Now, moving on, let's talk about your necessities. Everybody in America says, I need a vacation. I need a vacation. I need to get away. Okay, get away for a week and you come back to the same thing because the system has not changed. Maybe consider home vacations or vacations that are not so pricey that can become experiences. Experiences are not all material. Experiences are when you and your family are together, which of late has been scarcer and scarcer. Our families are scattered in this country, all over the place. And I frankly think it's not good. I like the Waltons. I like the fact that everybody was together and that they worked things out as a family unit rather than trying to chase Junior or Jane all over the world to see you or for you to see them and the grandkids. I mean, really. And I respect, hear me well, I respect FaceTime, WhatsApp, and all the live streaming devices and apps that are out here today for people to network, for grandparents to see their grandchildren and their children. But it's not the same as the touchy-feely. It just isn't. It's not the same as putting one of them on your lap and playing patty cake and giving them a smooch, okay? That is not the same, but the technology is there. Which, on the subject of technology and inflation, let me tell you something. Things are getting ready to change radically thanks to the metaverse conversation of the CEO of Facebook. He changed the name to Meta. Things are getting ready to really, really, really change in terms of how we learn and how we experience. This week, a couple of huge announcements. The God particle, right, scientists have identified the big boom. And then this week, we've also found galaxies that are over 5 billion years old. Now, that's going to be interesting how that plays out because people are going to have, in my opinion, an opportunity to change their life story. I absolutely believe that we're on the cusp of a cure for cancer. I do believe that. They're busily working. Cancer is horrible. The costs that it brings to an economy are horrible, absolutely horrible. Now, as a side note on the economy and the fact that we don't have enough young people right now to fund Social Security ad infinitum. That translates to forever. And we're coming to a crossroads in not too far distant future where Social Security is going to have to be shored up. And I'm going to give congressmen and politicians a hint. You better fix it. You better fix it. You want to see crazy old people chasing you? You better fix it. You better pull money from someplace to make sure that Social Security stays solvent. Now, most of us contributed to Social Security. And I'm not getting off point here, but I'm trying to tell you the impact. Our checks went up because the Consumer Price Index, which measures the cost of goods and services, is up. But let's talk about the fact that we have a component in Social Security that was not in the original. And at the risk of making everybody mad, disability, Social Security disability, which is a large part of the Social Security program today. It actually pays people who are disabled. They didn't have to pay a penny. Not a penny. And they get a check if they're approved. Now, it's a fight, But there are millions of people right now who are on Social Security disability who I actually believe can probably work. But why work if someone's giving you a check? That's the American way, remember? And so that has caused real negative impact on the funding and the stability of that program. I don't have any answers. This is America, a great country, a country that other countries envy. And I don't know if we need to look at that disability component critically as we move forward and determine if people are really in need. What are the alternatives if they don't get Social Security disability? It's not a whole lot, but it is a check. And for many of them, the non-receipt of that money can have very bad outcome. I don't like to see people suffering. I certainly don't like to see people who've had mental challenges, physical challenges, etc., out here with nothing. That is the way of the world, by the way. If you got issues in other countries, God bless you. Hope you got a family member that loves you, or else take your cup and out to the front to beg for money. That is a sad story of most of the world. We are not most of the world, and everybody's looking at us for more kindness, more charity. Despite all the gun violence and craziness, we are still viewed as generous and charitable. And I would like that to stay put, in spite of everything that's going on. Okay, but back to inflation. Now let's talk about gasoline prices, which dipped a little bit this week. They're not going to stay there. Nope, not going to stay there because I said it's demand driven. And these refineries are not going to upgrade and do all the things that they would need to do to justify anything. They're taking care of their shareholders. That's what they're doing. You can call it price gouging, you can call it whatever, but the bottom line is that that's what you're going to pay at the pump. So how are you going to handle your affairs differently? Well, the first thing I tell people is that don't run out and buy an electric car. That's what many Americans are doing. Well, I'm just going to get an electric car. They haven't resolved the battery issue, okay? They haven't. Lithium versus hydrogen. Who's going to win? And where are you going to be? But I will say to you that most of the driving that many of us do is not what I call need-based driving. You just want to go to the mall. You just want to go here. You just want to sightsee. You just want to drive your car. Think Detroit. Drive your car, but it's going to cost you. And the bottom line is that it's gone almost as soon as you pump it. I mean, it's like eating food. It's gone. So how do you get through this? Well, one of the things I urge everyone to do, while it's still available, because I don't know if grocery stores are going to continue the price points, but you can have your food delivered at no cost with many of them, a minimum cost, so you don't have to drive. Okay, you can watch a lot of things you want to watch, including church, on Zoom and television. Yeah, it's not warm and touchy, but you don't have to drive. Okay, the way we have churches today, you got to drive a little bit. It's not a neighborhood church. You got to drive. And when you do the math, do you want to pay that kind of money? Because when you think about it, $5 a gallon, and it takes you, say your church is 10 miles away. Do you know what that aggregates to? My gosh, on a daily and weekly and monthly basis, that's a lot of money, okay? And so my advice is to look critically at how you shop and how you spend. I just read that online sales are starting to fall. People, I'm going to tell you why they're starting to fall, because you don't know if you're going to get what you ordered. And then you got to return, and then you got to pay for it. So a lot of people are like, I'm tired of this. I don't like this. And so I just read some data that said online sales are falling because people do not like the way that system worked. It was exciting at first, but it really isn't fun if the thing you ordered is defective or doesn't work right, or you just don't like it. And try to get it back, okay? Try to get it back to them. Good luck with that, for real. So we're looking at American consumers trying to figure this whole thing out and trying to figure out what works best for them in the middle of inflation. Well, I can tell you right now that unless you need an item, a necessity, then it becomes a want, meaning, oh, I just want it, okay? And if that's how you plan on getting through these next years, you're gonna have hard times. You're gonna have a rude awakening, particularly and especially the techno generation of young people. Oh yeah, you gotta have the latest upgrade. You gotta have the latest computer. You gotta have the latest period. Well, when you realize that money spent is money gone, it does not do a U-turn and say, oops, I need to be back where I'm safe. Money says, I'm out of here, see you later. And it's a painful thing because our young people have not experienced anything like this. They have not. I have lived through a number of economic downturns, including 2008, which was just horrible, okay? That was the year the President of the United States, newly elected President Barack Obama, came into office facing an economy that was collapsing and had to bail out everybody, and then had to live with the criticism of, you don't know what you're doing. Well, folks, I'm not the president, and that includes current president and all former presidents. That's a tough job. I'm not volunteering, period. You gotta know a lot, you gotta have resources, and you really gotta be smart. I'm sorry, we've had some dumb presidents, and we see. But a smart president, at least they will surround themselves with smart people, hopefully, that can wiggle us out of this. I don't know about this current situation, though. I'm not so optimistic. I really want to take my money and run. For real. Everybody else is, except the advisors that are telling you, just hang in and hold on. Hold on to what? As I told one advisor, not to be callous, I don't have 10 years to ride this thing. I may be in a box, okay? So show me something that's going to be safe, because that's all I'm interested in right now. Safe and guaranteed, okay? Show me something in your portfolio that says I won't lose money, which brings up another inflation thing. Look at your 401k, 403b, your investment accounts, and take off the frosty glasses and look at whether you're making money, losing money, or everything is equal, okay? Do not go for the okie doke. And I'm not trying to disparage advisors. I've been one for 40 years. You don't hit 100 all the time. But the disadvantage of young people is that they don't have the advantage of wisdom and time. When you've been around a long time, your perspective is very different from a young person. They have tons of enthusiasm. They talk well. They are smart. But they don't have years of boots on the ground when wages were low, when you didn't know where things were going to go from day to day and time to time. That's what we're talking about, facing that music. And it's a tough music choir to face. It is, because who wants to outlive their resources? Who? And who can I trust with my resources? Okay, because scamming is real. The market is not stable. I don't care what anybody says. Who can predict the future? Other than, as I tell people, you better look look for situations that offer you contractual guarantees and safety of principal. What's wrong with that? I had to tell a woman yesterday. She said, but that's not a good enough return. And I said, then go into the market and lose your money. Okay? Well, I'll make some. Oh, you will. You will. The law of physics applies up and down. But you're too old to do this. This is not a comic book series. This is real life play. And no, you're not rich. And if you keep playing this, soon to be poor. I do not want to see anybody poor, but it can happen if you're not alert to the signs and the times. When we were in grad school, inflation was like the dreaded word, because we knew that inflation could blow up an economy, that people without food would go to war. Think the French Revolution, that people that did not have decent housing would be landing on your doorstep with their tents and deal with it. And we knew inflation had a side that we really weren't all that familiar with. We knew that under Ronald Reagan, inflation tried to rear its head, but Ronald Reagan was nobody's joke. And he squished that thing, he crushed it, and there was unemployment repercussions and everything else. But, you know, smiling Ronnie, he handled it, and we got through it. Times are different today, drastically different. So you have to plan accordingly. Like I said with gasoline, stop being so generous about your spending on oil, okay? Winter is coming. Energy companies do not do discounts. They really don't. Now, I know in some situations they won't disconnect seniors, but for all of you people that aren't seniors, it's a pay-as-you-go plan. And I would urge you now, while things are not so crazy, to consider going under an even billing. Yeah, you'll pay more in some months than others, but you don't have to risk the sticker shock that is coming. Yes, it is. It is coming. It's right on my heels. I guarantee you it's coming. What's another thing to combat inflation? Well, the easiest thing is make more money so you can pay these prices. So you say, well, how do I make more money? Well, look at your skill sets and see if you have to take on a second job, or see if you have skills that allow you to have your own little business. Oh yeah, pies sell every day. So do meals. They sell because it's food. It's a fundamental. What can you bring to the table that people will pay for? And are you going to think you're going to compete with fast food? Because you're not. They're very good at what they sell. It doesn't have to have any nutrition. They're just good at what they sell. They got a marketing machine behind them. Are you able to do something like this in your home or with your goods and resources? Are you able to do as the young people do and do TikTok and make money? Or do educational and make money? What are you willing to do to make money? All right? Because that is what happens when prices are out of control. You've got to be aggressive and survivalist and look at what do you have to do to keep you and your family okay. It can be challenging if you allow fear, okay? Fear is not a reality. Fear is an emotion. If you allow fear to come to the table and mess you up. But I do believe in Team USA, and I believe that people are busily right now starting their own little businesses to sell stuff, to eBay, to all the things they're doing, marketplace, to make money, really to make money, and they're doing a good job. I'm not saying that it's all they thought, because money is hard to get today, and people are tight. And they should be, because they don't know what the future holds. But if everybody is tight in holding on to their money, I guarantee you we're going into a recession. Without a shadow of a doubt. If nobody's spending money and companies are offloading inventory like Walmart is trying to do, then yeah, we're heading for a recession because you're not spending money. Now, I know for you, that sounds like, well, why would I want to spend money when I don't need it? And I'm saying to you, this whole economy over here is based on you buying stuff you don't need. 80% of our economy is consumer driven. Right. What does that mean? That means that you're buying a pile of stuff. And you got a pile of stuff in your garage and basement. I know you do. And probably 2 storage facilities that you pay monthly to keep that stuff. May I suggest, at this time in history, that you begin to offload that stuff. Donate, sell, whatever. Offload. It's too much. You can't do anything with it. And move it on. There's a lot of people that would appreciate your stuff, particularly those that are homeless or people trying to fresh start, all those kind of things. Okay, but if you are money conscious, there's eBay, there's Etsy. There are venues that will allow you to get rid of everything. That's the beauty of social media and technology today. There's something for everybody. There is. And you want to be one of those people, okay, that can capitalize and take advantage. Now, let me give you a heads up. Young people are always looking for deals. Why? Because you can go in the marketplace and see all kinds of free stuff that people are just giving away. Just get it off my front lawn. But young people are also looking for other non-disposable type things that they call vintage. Vintage, I used to think vintage was old till I got that age. And then I'm like, I'm vintage, but I'm not for sale. So vintage is very popular. Clothing in the vintage genre has tremendous marketability. Take advantage of it. If you have that kind of stuff, list it and sell it. It's not hard. Just follow the rules and get it done. So I'm talking about as a part of your inflation buster. Start a business, liquidate your stuff, put it through disposing apps that will dispose. Many organizations take consignment, furniture consignment. I know several. And of course, the biggest thing to overcome is, but I can get more for that. Well, I'm going to tell you that. That should be the hoarder's national anthem. It's here because I got a great deal and I'm not getting rid of it because I can get more of it. Trust me when I tell you, we're not in those times today. I had to get real with myself about it. Okay, I did. Because there were just some things I had as a collector that were like, oh, I can't bear to get rid of it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It'll free you up. It'll set you down for an uncluttered life. And it'll be your contribution to the fight against inflation, which is going to be a long fight because we got too much stuff going. So I've given you some opinions, some thoughts, and I'm also going to refer you to a website where you can get really crisp information. I'm signing off on it, npr.com/yourmoney. And it summarizes and gives a lot of information in a written form that can prove to be helpful for you, really helpful for you. But a lot of this stuff, we're going to have to write it out. We are really going to have to write it out. And the question I started to show off with, want or need? We're focusing on your needs and not your wants. You need life insurance, yes you do, or else you're going to need to do GoFundMe, and that's not going to go the way you think. You're going to need to have emergency savings. You're going to need to, if you're a senior, look into long-term care for yourself in case you become incapacitated for a bunch of reasons. And oh, by the way, on that subject of incapacitation, if you have diabetes or you're pre-diabetic, as some would say, you're not going to get any insurance. Yeah, if you've been recently diagnosed or not diagnosed well at all, insurance companies have kind of figured this out. They've also figured out COVID. They're going to ask you on many of the apps today, have you had it? And you're going to find yourself paying a whole lot more because insurance companies now believe that COVID has long-term impact on the negative side. So I encourage everybody, you don't have to call me, but you need to call somebody that's not on TV trying to sell this stuff, okay? You need to deal with a reputable agent or broker who can help you through this. Don't do a solo ride. Please, don't do a solo ride. Be aware, be conscientious, and stay away from television scams and telephone scams. I don't know how many people have told many of you, stop it, hang up the phone. Or if you don't want to be rude, have it go to your voicemail and then erase it. People that love and know you, you're free to answer. But if they start soliciting, hang up the phone. The number of seniors that have been victims of scam and identity theft because they wouldn't hang up the phone in the United States is staggering. Staggering. Really staggering. Don't be one of them. Don't be one of them. Hang up the phone. Like, click, next. For real. Don't do it. And be careful, and I say this cautiously, about putting your mail in the little blue boxes because there's been a real issue around theft. Go in the post office and drop your mail inside. All right, that's a safety tip, unsolicited. A lot of people have had bad things happen of late because they aren't aware that the blue box in front of the post office is not secure. Nope, it's not. So go inside, or if the mailman comes around, give it to him or her to put into the truck to go back. But don't get scammed because you're not going to fight inflation if you're busily giving away every dollar that's in your bank account to strangers to help them get out of jail, or help them because they're lost in Ireland, or help them because their daughter got ripped off. Stay away. Keep your money to yourself. Can I say that? Because it's true. Keep it to yourself and be mindful of what is occurring out here. And it is a lot. It is really a lot. So I want to conclude today's segment of The Power of Money with Michelle Graves, your friend at this point. My viewers have become my friends. Kind of like a nice feeling. It really is. And I love hearing from all of you at mygraves@gmail.com. I love working with seniors. I love working with young people. I love working with everybody, really, because this is a great time in life to be alive. And I appreciate it. But for those of you that are listening in, please encourage your friends. If they're not watching this via their own television station, they can always catch up on all episodes on YouTube. That's youtube.com, and go to The Power of Money with Michelle Graves. And the subject matter of this is inflation update. And that's what I'm talking about today. And I hope you have been encouraged. And if you're having hard times, look again at being resilient and look at what the options and opportunities are. We're grown people. Nobody's going to take care of us. And be aware and be respectful of the fact that you're in the wealthiest country in the world. Yeah, the wealthiest country in the world in terms of individual wealth. The wealthiest country. People fight to get here. They fight to get a better way. So do not fall victim to a negative nanny or negative Ned conversation. But look at your family as a unit that deserves to thrive and prosper in these difficult economic times. And I wish you only the very best. I send you only the very best. And we'll talk soon. In the meantime, you take care. God bless you. I mean that. God really bless you. I'll talk to you soon. You take care. Bye-bye.